Hey, what's going on, guys? It's the Raw Deal Podcast State of NXT. As always, we'll start this off with the State of NXT address. Wow, already messing stuff up 30 seconds in. All right.
RDP, RDP,
RDP,
RDP.
RDP.
Get the chant
All
going.
right. In a land far beyond the reaches of the normal WWE, one woman stands atop the mountain. As the glorious Booby Roode faces off with the enigmatic Roderick Strong, we move closer to the next TakeOver pay-per-view. The Authors of Pain write the final words for everyone that steps in between the ropes, and the rogue faction known as SaNitY cuts a swath of destruction through the NXT locker room. All that is good seems to be gone as even the closest friendships fall in this business. New faces try to shake things up.
And you cut out. Hello?
I cut out.
Yep, still cutting out. Are you storming near your house or anything? Gotta get better at internet, man. But anyway, this is the State of NXT. I believe this is episode 2. Yeah, so episode 2. The last one we did back on April 30th. So it's been exactly 2 months since the last State of NXT episode. And pretty much the landscape has changed quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a very different program now. I think, where did I get cut off at? Did I get cut off before?
Right in the middle of your...
Was it like, what was I saying?
Right after the Authors of Pain stuff.
Okay. The Authors of Pain write the final words for everyone that stepped between the ropes. And a rogue faction known as SaNitY cuts a swath of destruction through the NXT locker room. All that is good seems to be gone as even the closest friendships fall in this business. New faces try to shake things up and make themselves a star, and old faces turn new paths as the tide turns. Tonight, we discuss all this and more on the Raw Deal.
There we go. Are you cut out? Oh, there you go. I was going to say I wasn't sure if you're cut out again. Right now, it's just showing your frozen face on the screen.
I thought I wrote that pretty well. Threw that together in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. You might want to just cut the video. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll look into that.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I said, things have changed quite a bit. We have the good thing is that the people that we were saying on the last State of the NXT, these new people that came in, Aleister Black, Cassius Ohno, Drew McIntyre's back. These are the people that I don't think they're screwing anybody up. They haven't completely ruined anyone, and we even have some surprises like Velveteen Dream coming up. And Nikki Cross has been putting in good work. It's kind of good to see how well they've been booking people all across NXT.
Yeah, it is really interesting because, you worried when essentially the faces of NXT started
really
to go
quick,
up.
Just cut your video, Garrett.
Cut my video altogether.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's frozen on you drinking a can of soda.
Okay.
There you go.
Got it. Sorry. All right. All right. Anyway, it's really interesting that that we ended up, it seemed like when basically the faces of NXT like Shinsuke and Ty Dillinger were headed up to the main roster and the face of the tag team division, the Revival, for a long time, like they're now on the main roster and a lot of them aren't really doing anything right now, admittedly, but we thought when they were gone that everything was just going to be like everything were going to be struggling to figure out what to do. But it seemed like immediately after we got Heavy Machinery, immediately after we got a revamp in the women's division, which has needed for a while because while they've been holding it down, they haven't really exactly been doing anything special. So to see everything coming together now is really interesting and good, and they're putting on fantastic matches. And I don't really, and it's weird because I have this written down later, but like there are so many people, the people with the belts right now, I don't necessarily want them to drop it to anybody because I enjoy watching them go out there and kick the crap out of each other, and defend those belts. And I'm like, it doesn't take anything away from anybody else. So
it's true. And I think what's important is that Asuka was getting really stale for a while, but how they've been booking her recently, I'm fine with her having the belt. It's kind of like she's rejuvenated just because of these new rivalries.
Well, and the heel turn, that really revamped everything. I mean,
well, that's true too.
Like when she turned fully heel instead of just being the tweener champion, it really, really shook things up in the women's division because there wasn't.
Isn't Nikki Cross considered a heel?
Technically, but I think she's getting over as a face slowly.
Okay.
Because I think SaNitY as a whole gets over almost as a face anyway, because it's got Eric Young, and everyone's like, oh, it's Eric Young. Look at that.
Right.
Anyway, So the first thing I want to actually talk about, first topic I want to get into, is who are you really liking in the men's division right now, Brady?
I mean, we just saw a really good match on last week's episode. Well, I guess now 2 episodes ago, Aleister Black versus Cassius Ohno, which Charlie and I got to see live. Both of those guys are fantastic. But the one, and I know Charlie would absolutely say Aleister Black. I don't know where you stand. We'll throw it over in a second. But for me, I've always loved Drew McIntyre. I loved when he was on the main roster before all the 3MB stuff, when he was seen as the chosen one, the handpicked future world champion of Vince McMahon. I think they have a built-in storyline. He can go up to the main roster eventually as a huge face, just trying to get revenge on basically the WWE for getting rid of him. And it could be fantastic. He puts on great matches. He's great on the mic, got a great look. He's the entire package. I hope that he become. I don't know if I want him to become NXT champion because I feel like he could get stale there. I'd rather him just be like called up like how Apollo Crews was, where it's like, I don't know. He never really reached the top of the mountain in NXT, but I can see where they're going. And if they book him right on the main roster, he could get over instantly.
Oh yeah. And I completely agree on the McIntyre thing. Like between Black and Ohno, though, I think I honestly choose Black because just because of the history there and this interesting character, and he still has said no words since he came to NXT, which is amazing because that is something that you only reserve for like big guys like Strowman. You know, like it's really cool to see somebody not cut a single promo, but everybody knows that kick will knock you the hell out. You know. And like that, so he's got like this weird backstory too, where there's like all this Satanism things and like or whatever you want to call it, you know. And it's just like this really mysterious character of Aleister Black. And with Tommy End in the driver's seat, I mean, obviously they're giving him some creative control. So, you know, it's really good because you can tell that Triple H is really taking these indie guys seriously in the creative area of NXT. And but I definitely have to agree with Drew McIntyre. I don't think he's been actually on NXT really in the last couple of weeks, but it doesn't really matter because everybody knows he's there. His presence is felt even when he's not on the show, you know? So, and I think he's obviously after Roderick Strong, if he doesn't win the belt from Bobby Roode, I think he's obviously the next feud for Bobby Roode. And I think that will just be freaking amazing because they don't need to be able to put on a good enough match, but they probably know each other well enough from the last days that they both spent together over in TNA. So, you know, like they could probably put on a pretty good match, even though neither one of them is technically that spectacular in the ring. Though I'm not taking anything away from McIntyre or Roode. I'm just saying, you know. But I think my favorite men's division wrestler right now has to be Eric Young because I've just been stuck on SaNitY ever since they joined. And technically, he's in the tag division right now. Obviously, he's teaming with Wolf, but he's
I thought that was interesting. At the tapings, they started pushing Young and Wolf as the big tag team, and Killian Dane as the big single star coming
out.
I
love.
I was going to say, do you agree with that decision?
Oh yeah, I love that because I buy Killian Dane as a champion. You know, like if we don't get Roode v McIntyre, maybe we have Killian Dane come and take the belt from Roderick Strong and send him up to the main roster. You get them both on separate shows, Roode and Strong. You know, maybe do it like a double call up situation like that, like they've done with the women in the past,
right?
And then send them both up, have Killian Dane defend against Drew McIntyre, and that's a program I'd pay to see, you know? Like, for sure. Because, you know, two big, giant men from the UK that just destroy each other with their British strong style, you know? Like, oh, that would be legendary.
That's another thing I wanted to talk about dealing with the men, is that it seemed like the NXT days of old, the mid-card feuds really didn't mean much. They were just kind of there as more of a developmental thing, see how guys would stick together. And really all anyone cared about was that big title match. Whereas now it's funny because like I'm not the biggest Bobby Roode fan as far as his matches, but at the same time that makes everyone else seem better. So it looks like we're going to be leading towards a Hideo Itami and Oni Lorcan match, probably to kick off the next the next pay-per-view for NXT. Is that something that you want to see, or is Itami or Lorcan just not your cup of tea?
No, like several back on NXT when they were still in the midst of the Roode Itami feud, I was super interested in because I knew Oni Lorcan has got the history of wrestling all over the world, that he's got the skills to wrestle. I mean, I think he even spent some time in Japan. I can't remember exactly, but and that everyone knows that watches wrestling. If you spend any amount of time in Japan, even if it's just a couple of months, you're going to improve in every facet of wrestling. I mean, because they do everything so much more like intensely over there, But I really would love to see this match again, because I think if they get given the big pay-per-view, even a pre-show match, if they get given a big match like that, then they are going to just take it and run with it, and both of them are going to.
Oh, lost you. But I agree. I mean, there are a lot of people in NXT right now that are looking.
Path where they take it. Oh, I broke out again. I was just saying, I'd be really interested to see this, because I think that they would given the platform of a pay-per-view, they're going to tear the house down, and both of them are going to come out looking strong. I think Itami would go over because he's going on this sort of heelish, tweenerish run at this point. But yeah, I definitely am interested to see what they would do on a pay-per-view, given like 10, 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of hungry people in NXT, especially on the men's side. Like, that's not to say that people don't want it that aren't on the card, but right now they have so many unique people. You can't say that out of Black, McIntyre, Ono, Lorcan, Roode, Itami, you can't say that any of them
McIntyre
you can't say that they're that similar. A lot of them, maybe Ono and McIntyre, as far as the way that they work. But I'd buy that match if you were to tell me that we would have a Cassius Ono, Drew McIntyre championship match at a takeover. I'm down.
Oh yeah, completely.
And I can't think. I'm not the biggest Hideo Itami fan, so outside of Itami, all those names that I listed, I could see any combination of the two on a takeover and be happy with that match, which I think is really important.
Yeah, if you want to see the different combinations I came up with that I thought would be really good, there's a video I did a while back called the top 10 potential NXT feuds from when all this new talent flooded in. Go back and watch that. It's I think there's a playlist of top 10s or something. Anyway, now that we've talked about the men, because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the men's division, but where I really has my interest right now in NXT, and honestly on the main roster too at this point on both shows, is the women's division. Because right now there is literally, and I mean literally, nothing you can do to slow them down at this point. They've built so much momentum that Asuka could drop the title and it would feel important. Asuka could retain the title and it would feel really important. And it's just one of those things where, hey, we got Charlie joining us. So let's get Charlie's opinion really quickly on the men's division. So Charlie, I know I'm putting you on the spot as you just jumped in, but who are you liking in the men's division of NXT right now?
Aleister Black.
See, I already told you.
He's definitely the best. Let's see, who else is pretty good? Ono's awesome. I feel like he always has a great match. Definitely Aleister Black, though, kind of just head and shoulders right now above the rest.
Brady made an interesting point, is that they're kind of pushing this sort of maybe mid-card feud between Hideo Itami and Oni Lorcan.
Yeah, that was out of the spoilers from the last tapings, is that Itami and Lorcan look like they're going to be in a mid-card feud. Is that something you're buying into, Charlie?
Yeah, absolutely. Remember that match they had? I think it was like 2 weeks ago on NXT TV.
Oh yeah.
It was really stiff and fun because we were there live and we saw it. It was really fun. So I'm glad they're keeping that up.
Yeah, I was saying that. I think the mix of British and Japanese strong styles thrown together with the way, especially because, and this is like something that I've kind of always had a pet peeve about. Like when the wrestlers are two like pretty boy dudes, like if it was like Tyler Breeze versus Fandango or something, I'd be like, well, these guys just look like they're about to just go buy clothes after this match, whereas like when you see a guy like Oni Lorcan who looks kind of rough, and Hideo Itami, who for a Japanese guy, yeah, but he also not really all there. You know, like for the women at least. You know, like it makes you look like all these guys are chiseled veterans. They're gonna just destroy each other, and then when they go out there and they're throwing like Oni Lorcan's forearms they need to be banned.
Oh, if you have Aleister Black against Oni Lorcan standing across from each other in the ring, you know shit's going down.
Oh yeah, same with
Someone's
the
getting
Nami,
killed, bro.
yeah, but
and what about what's the name of the British guy that we saw put on a really good match, Charlie? The you know who I'm talking about, right? He came out, had the great match, and I can't remember the name of it. I'll research it and I'll bring it back up.
Danny Burch and Pete Dunne?
Danny Burch.
Oh yeah, that dude.
He's good.
Yeah, that
too.
was a good match on TV.
I mean, right now, just to throw it over, Bleacher Report right now, this is their ranking. I'll list them back from 20 for the men. Akam, Alexander Wolf, Dylan Miley, Otis Dozovich, Noe Jose, Killian Dane, Razor, Tucker Knight, Oni Lorcan, Shane Thorne, Tommaso Ciampa, Roddy Strong, Eric Young, Cassius Ohno, Hideo Itami, Bobby Roode, Aleister Black, Andrade Almas, Johnny Gargano, Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Well, they got Almas really high.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. It's such a stacked card right now.
But with like the top 10, like McIntyre, Gargano, Almas, Black, Roode, Itami, Ono, Young, Strong, and Ciampa, that is a solid group of people.
Completely. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. I mean, like, and think about, you can just take any of those people from that top 10, mix them around, and boom, you got yourself probably.
And to counter that, I might as well list their top 10 girls right now if we want to segue into the women.
Yeah, we'll roll into that.
So they've got 10 Aaliyah, and then counting backwards, Mandy Rose, Kimberly Frankeli. Is that how you pronounce that? I don't know.
Kimberly Frankly.
Daria Baronato, Billie Kay, Ruby Riott, Peyton Royce, Ember Moon, Nikki Cross, Asuka.
That's crazy.
You take that top
I like
five.
that women's division.
Riott, Royce, Moon, Cross, Asuka. That is solid.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. So, segueing from that, what are you feeling? How do you feel currently? Like, who are you really feeling in the women's division at this point, Brady?
I'm still, I don't know. Some people think that Ember Moon's time is coming past, and I don't think so. I still love Ember Moon. I think she's great. I think Ruby Riott will be great. She just needs some time. Put her in a mid-card feud against someone. I really don't like Peyton Royce or Billie Kay. I don't like either. I don't like their shtick. I'm just not a fan. I think Aaliyah's thing is kind of stupid. I think Daria could be really good. So I'd say my number 1, 2, and 3, if I had to rank them. Really, if I had to make my 5, I would put Asuka 1, Ember Moon 2, Daria 3, Nikki Cross 4, Ruby Riott 5.
Cool.
If I had to make a 5, I think Asuka's great. I think that she's in a spot where she doesn't have to come up to the main roster ever. She can dominate NXT and then leave, and then just leave it up to the people because she's not crazy old or anything by any means. So she could absolutely kill everybody in NXT, drop the title to whoever, and like in a triple threat, and then she retires, and then all of a sudden, once that person who took the title from her gets called up to the main roster, give it like a year, they win the main title, and then Asuka comes out of retirement to rebeat that person and win the main card title.
Yeah, that would be awesome. All right, so Charlie, who are your favorite women's division wrestlers?
Definitely Asuka. She's she's almost the best in the company, for Christ's sake. And then I'd probably go to the duo of Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. I'd list them as one. I like the idea of having the duo of them. Then Nikki Cross, Ember Moon, and Ruby Riott. They're all really good. Honestly, I think they could all do well in the main roster today. So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I really have been a fan of Asuka ever since I watched my first takeover back when Bobby Roode first won the belt off Shin. I mean, like that takeover. I forget which was that, San Antonio maybe. I can't remember exactly which was no, it's the one before that, whatever that one was. Anyway,
where he won it.
Yeah, where he won the belt from
Toronto. No, it was San Antonio.
It was okay, San Antonio. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so that wasn't the first one I watched on the network, and I had gone back and watched some previous ones just to get myself hyped up because that was actually the first NXT show I think I even watched, except for like weekly episodes.
Yeah,
because I watched like that week's NXT, kind of went back and figured out what was going on feud wise, and then I just watched the show. And this was like, and Asuka just stole the show that night, and I forget what the match was that night. I think she might have been entangled with Ember Moon maybe. At the time, I think that was their singles feud time, maybe, or maybe right before. But anyway, she just stole the show for me. And ever since then, every time she's going to be on a show, I always have to watch it, even if she's just going to be like in a backstage interview, because she's, for somebody that obviously has had a rough time coming over to America and trying to adjust to the style and, trying to make a name for herself where most people in her position would be just screwed, Like, I'm worried for some of the Japanese Stardom people because they just signed coming in for the Mae Young Classic and stuff, because they may not do as well as she did. They may not just be thrown straight into the fire and just take off. So I'm really impressed with Asuka. Ruby Riott came out of nowhere and was immediately one of my favorites.
Yeah, she literally, I remember saying this with Brady. Never heard of the name. And next thing we know, she was on the NXT Orlando takeover show.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy because I was just sitting there one day because I don't remember like ever not having I don't remember having a moment where Ruby Riott wasn't like on the level of these other two women that are also in my top, because I only have really a top three because Billie Kay and Peyton Royce are sort of a different thing for me. They're like a different they're not the same as the others for me because they're like a grouping. So like if they're not together like that, I can't really individually between the two of them. I got to pick Peyton Royce because she's the better technical wrestler of the two. But that's just on pure talent, Like, yeah, as a group, I think they work as a unit really well, and I think that they have enough heat with the crowd to do well. But honestly, the heat magnet of the women's division, other than Asuka at this point after her heel turn, has got to be Nikki Cross with SaNitY, because she is just going out there and basically killing herself in every match, and obviously you can't forget about Ember Moon's dive through the turnbuckle, but like there's some moments like that where it feels like really important to be watching these matches. The last two NXT Women's Championship matches that happened on NXT TV were like crazy.
Oh, dude, that triple threat was awesome.
Oh my gosh, it was. They felt so important. Like they felt like on the level of an NXT TakeOver women's title match. And it's because they built this title up to be like this really prestigious thing. Not that they haven't done that with the other titles, but
they've been main eventing a lot of stuff. Just to jump in, Charlie, have you seen anything about the last episode of NXT by chance?
What was that? The Asuka versus Nikki Cross?
Yeah.
Saw highlights. I didn't see the full thing.
Just listen to this. This is straight from WrestlingInc.com. Good website. Right. Go check it out. Okay, I'll go in the middle, right? Asuka nails a spinning back fist and hits 4 German suplexes in a row. Nikki stands up at 6, and Asuka nails a spinning head kick. Nikki up at 8, and they battle on the ropes. Asuka attempts to suplex Nikki out of the ring onto the pile of chairs Nikki pulled out earlier, but Nikki slides out and powerbombs her onto them. Asuka up at 9. Asuka knocks Nikki off the ramp and jumps off with her butt attack from the ramp. They brawl to the announce table area. Nikki grabs a plastic table and a ladder. Nikki lays Asuka across the table and climbs the ladder, but Asuka ends up climbing up too. Asuka suplexes Nikki off the ladder and through the announce table. Asuka barely gets up at 9 to pick up the win and retain. Jeez. They don't do that with just a regular match, man.
Yeah.
This title means something.
It reminds me of the old days of the traveling wrestling, the traveling wrestling, titles, like the TV title and the internet title, titles that would be defended weekly because it was the lowest card title, but it was almost the most important title because it's the only one you always got to see defended, no matter if you watched the weekly show. So Like I think I remember watching several going back and watching several WCW television title matches that felt so much more important because you knew there was going to be one every single week, you know, because that was the whole point of the title. So it almost feels like that level of importance where you're like going into every one of these matches and you're saying, okay, I don't know what's going to happen, but it doesn't matter because no matter what, someone's going to be skyrocketed from this match. Either Asuka's going to come out looking even stronger or whoever pins her is going to come out looking like a legend. I mean, we're not even talking about it. Asuka has the longest undefeated streak in WWE history and the longest, I think the longest title reign out of anyone in any part of the company right now. I mean, that is really impressive.
Yeah, what's the count at right now while we're doing this?
Women's Championship?
Yeah.
Women's Championship.
It is at Asuka is at 453 and counting.
So she's going to hit that.
She has officially, okay, Paige was she held it for 308. I mean, but other than Paige's title reign, Asuka has doubled every other title reign, almost doubling Charlotte's. She's probably, if she retains again, she's going to double Charlotte's.
Yeah,
and
that's cool. That's pretty cool, man.
And that shows the faith that they have in Asuka to hold that belt and make it prestigious.
I mean, and these are impressive title reigns, man. Paige 308, Charlotte 258, Sasha Banks 192, Bayley 223, Asuka 453.
And that's right. The last time this belt was on anybody else was on Bayley, wasn't it?
Yeah. Bayley's going to end up out of the company at this rate before Asuka drops the title.
Yeah, really. I mean, we joke about that, but that could actually happen, you know, like, or at least Bayley will be back in NXT.
Speaking of Bayley, did you see the ultimate heel turn by Bayley's #1 fan, that Izzy?
What?
That Izzy showed up rocking Alexa Bliss stuff.
Really? That's funny.
Yeah.
One thing I want to note is that Asuka's been defending her title like every week. It seems like.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're trying to just maybe if they're going to call her up or have her drop the title soon, they just want her to have as many title defenses as possible? That way, it makes her look even more dominant.
Possible.
Because you know, if I can't find a definitive list of how many title defenses she has, but she's definitely got to be more than everyone else at this point. And she's been defending it on a lot more NXTs lately, so she's probably up over 15 title defenses or something.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, it's crazy because, like I said, you get someone defending the title week to week. Like, think about how successful John Cena's U.S. Open Challenge he did every week for like 3 or 4 months was. That was
open
awesome.
Challenges always get over. It's great.
Yeah, and this isn't even an opening challenge. She's just like, give me a match. And William Regal's like, all right, you know?
All right, you're in, bro.
You got your match. Defend it. And it makes her look like a fighting champion, even though she's a heel. Heel fighting champions always get over big with the crowd because they're like, wow, this guy's going out there talking all this crap and backing it up. That's awesome. It's kind of like the Eric Young and TNA way of building yourself up when nobody's paying. No one is even giving you any creative anything. You just go out there and you wreck everybody after you tell them that's what you're going to do, you know? Like, and no one can even argue when Asuka says, well, I'm going to go out there and beat you. Everyone's like, well, yeah.
Yeah. They're like, well, I mean, probably.
It's pretty crazy. All right. So we've talked about the men's division. We've talked about the women's division. But there's one more division on the NXT. On NXT that we still need to discuss. But before we do that, before we go to the tag teams, you mentioned if they're planning to call her up. Now, that is something I have listed down we need to talk about. Do we think, I'll throw this to you first, Charlie. Do we think there will ever be an Asuka call-up to the main roster?
Oh, yeah. I think it happens almost the instant after she drops that title.
All right. Brady?
Are we guessing brands, if so?
I wanted to play a retirement angle. I really do.
Yeah.
I think she has to have the right opponent. Right now, Asuka, she has to go against someone. I think when she gets called up, almost everyone when they get called up is a babyface. So when Asuka gets called up, she needs to get called up and be seen as like the savior. Kind of like if Nia Jax were to win the title on Raw and just hold it for like a year, and then all of the women are just like she ends up beating all of the women. There is no one else to beat, and they have to call in their ringer, Asuka. and Asuka is the one to come in and beat her.
Yeah, that would be really good. Or maybe Carmella scales the mountain finally after holding the briefcase for a while, and she shows up on SmackDown and just beats the crap out of her.
Could happen. I definitely don't think it happens like soon. I don't know. She's too special for it to happen right away. I don't think it happens before SummerSlam. But
yeah. Oh yeah.
Where did I get cut off? I was saying something about if Carmella wins the cashes in on somebody, and then Asuka's music hits or something.
Yeah.
And then she just saves the division or something from. Yeah, and obviously that would be kind of a dig on Carmella a little bit by the background people, but obviously they do stuff like that all the time, so they wouldn't be against it. And I think it'd be a really huge pop because at that point, after months and months of holding the briefcase, I think that Carmella would have built up enough heat that when Asuka's music hit, everybody would just be popping so loud. I mean, yeah. So, as I said, we're going to move on. We all...
Gary, you're cutting out a lot.
Because we got off again.
Okay.
I'm back.
Now you're good.
Sorry, I was saying I don't think that there's not going to be a call up. I just don't know how they're going to go about it. So that's all I really have to say. I just don't I don't want to speculate because I feel like I don't have any idea how I would do it because I know what I would do and I know it probably wouldn't work. So I won't even say. But anyway, moving on. We said we were going to talk about the tag teams, and we will. So, Charlie, it's obviously Authors of Pain is.
Lost you again, Garrett. Authors of Pain, the GOATs.
Sorry, I was saying that Authors of Pain tops the division right now. So give me your thoughts on the Authors of Pain before we move into the other tag teams.
Young as hell, and honestly, they've really done themselves, I think, better than anyone thought they would. That makes sense. Because, you know, when they came on and beat American Alpha, everyone's like, who the hell are these guys, you know? They weren't putting on that good of matches, but now they're really carrying their own. And Paul Ellering's a great manager, so I'm down with the AOP.
All right. So, other than Authors of Pain, who are you really digging in the tag team division at this point?
I'd have to say Heavy Machinery.
Right? They're just monsters.
They're fun. Yeah, they're really fun.
And you could tell that Otis Dozovic, when he comes out, and Tucker Knight both are just so happy to be there and so happy to be wrestling.
They're way better on the mic than anyone would expect just looking at them.
Yeah, true.
It's almost like a Mojo Rawley type hype, old school hype bros promo, but it's better because it's these two big hulking brutes of dudes, and they're just like hyping the entire crowd up beyond what the charisma that Dozovic has just blows me away. You know, like.
Oh, yeah. It's awesome.
Crazy. It's crazy. I mean, he could carry that whole team, and he might just, because I don't know how much Tucker Knight has even spoke, you know? So I really hope that they just keep these things up, you know? But I asked Charlie's opinion on the Authors of Pain, Brady. I want to get yours as well.
They made a believer out of me. I mean, they're young. They have plenty of time to be dominant for another year if they want in NXT, another 2 years. They could be dominant and run that division for 2 years, get called up, and run the division in WWE for another 5 years and still be considered in their prime. They're 23 and 24 right now, I believe. So most people don't get called up to the main roster until they're 30. And then most people usually don't get out of wrestling until they're 40. To put it in perspective, AJ Styles went into the WWE when he was 38 and
he just turned 40.
yeah, like it's crazy.
And he's still nowhere near done, but you know that's because he's a freak, you know, of nature. But like, yeah, I mean, I'm really personally excited to see what they do with the Authors of Pain because they've got my attention, and it's really hard to get someone's attention, even on NXT. I think to get everybody's attention, everyone looking at you and being like, yeah, those are the guys I want as champion because I wouldn't buy anybody else, you know. Like completely.
Yeah, that might be the downfall. Who can you buy as a credible challenger to them?
Not really anybody. Other than Heavy Machinery, not really anybody. Maybe like a really, really hyped up, built up TM61 when they come back, because you know they were over enough anyway. that I feel like they could perhaps take a shot at the titles. Maybe not win, but definitely give them a run for their money. Because now that DIY is split, we don't really have a dominant, well-known tag team. Even out of the tag teams we do have, other than SaNitY. And I don't think you want SaNitY to take the belts off of Authors of Pain because it doesn't really fit all that well. So what I think you have to do is just have them defend those belts for a while until you get another premier big men tag team to come in that could actually fight them and take the belts, or you just throw them to Heavy Machinery in a later feud that they revive. I don't know. Like, because at some point, one of these other teams is going to have to be called up because there is a lack of tag teams in both divisions at this point. Well, at least on SmackDown, it feels like there's a lack of really, really built-up tag teams. So you're going to have to take one of these teams and put them there eventually. I don't know who. Certainly not SaNitY. They're not nearly ready. They're not near ready yet. I mean, they could go up, but would it be bought by? Would people buy it? Probably not.
SaNitY's a unit. I mean, they could just throw them up whatever.
Which, yeah, to a point, but then you also have to throw in the idea that you don't want to clog up the entirety of a Raw or a SmackDown with, you'd have the sort of airy, not really makes much sense promos of Bray Wyatt on one, and then Eric Young doing pretty much the same thing on the other show. Like it just feels like that would just get too convoluted. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they could do well. I don't doubt Eric Young's ability to get that faction over. But I think Nikki Cross and Wolf both have stuff they still need to learn and still need to do in NXT. Like SaNitY definitely needs to win at least one belt before they come up. So, but anyway.
And hopefully they do win a belt before they come up.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I think they will. I think another big thing is, like you said, Charlie, they can call them up whenever. I think SaNitY is not a team that would get called up night after WrestleMania or whatever, because usually I don't think WWE is necessarily looking for a big pop from them. They're looking for a Shield type pop where they just come in and wreck somebody randomly one week and they're just like, oh my God, that's SaNitY from NXT. What the hell are they doing here?
Kind of in the same way that they brought the Revival in, where they just came out and challenged the New Day.
Revival got a huge pop night after WrestleMania.
That's true. But I'm just saying, like, it's sort of just the run in, beat the crap out of people and leave,
Right. But Revival is kind of getting treated as baby faces by the crowd, which is
really cool, by the way.
I think that's not what they should do. They're supposed to be badass heels.
No. I mean, not from the corporate side. I mean, like on the fact that the fans all know who they are when they came up and they pop was. And again, I know it's the night after WrestleMania. Those are probably going to be the more hardcore fans, but
exactly, yeah.
I don't care.
When they come out now, it's crickets. So that injury really hurt them bad.
Mm-hmm. So they have time to restructure them as good mid to high level carded tag team heels.
I thought we would get them versus Hardys, and they would.
That was the plan, I think, but it didn't work out because of was it Dawson that got injured?
Dash Wilder.
Wilder, sorry. Yeah. So with that injury, I think it kind of shifted a lot of plans around. That's why we got the feud we got the last couple months. But yeah,
if there's someone in NXT right now that their gimmick really isn't working, but we think it could work on the main roster, what's his face, the Drifter.
Oh yeah, true.
Do you think there's anyone in NXT where that could just happen? And who do you think are the people that could be doomed? Which I think we could all agree No Way Jose would probably just get trashed on the main roster.
Oh yeah.
It sucks because he does have a fun gimmick, but it traditionally just hasn't worked.
I think that the Sonya Deville that is like the former MMA fighter. I think that credibility is would work on the main roster, even though it's not really hitting on NXT's crowd right now, because she's just going out there and beating up their favorites, people that they've seen before. So, and she's not really saying why, other than she just wants to hurt people. But I think that's enough on the main roster sometimes that she could at least get over as a heel. So yeah, I think maybe Sonya Deville.
True. I'll take it. I think Andrade Almas, man. And I kind of said something similar to that before. The guy is so good. And, with Tia Trinidad now on his side, he might get more over in NXT than he was. But I mean, this guy was getting some bullshit NXT chants and stuff. So, you know, he's never been real over in NXT. But I think he can get over huge.
Oh yeah.
As long as he goes in as a heel, I like him better as a heel.
Oh yeah. I don't think they make him a face.
Yeah, no, like they kind of tried to with the I don't care, I just like the party gimmick, but that didn't really work, you know. Like
remember that's how it was. Who was his feud with at the last takeover where he was like, oh, just trying to have fun, and now all of a sudden
it was Black, I think. I think it was the first his match with Aleister Black, I think, right? Or was that
it might have been the one before that then, but pretty much where he was coming out and just kind of having a good time, and then he got really serious with it, and it's like, okay, good. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, because at this point, Almas is almost like your first pay-per-view stepping stone, you know? Oh, I think he was feuding with McIntyre when he came in, when he was doing that gimmick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so either that or we just have him switched, and it was the Aleister Black feud that he did that in which I don't think that really makes sense because Black, like I said earlier in the show, Black still hasn't said a word. So, you know, it would be different. But
that's kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, it's really – I was saying that earlier. It's really mysterious and really interesting because the only people that can really get away with that are big monster heels, you know. But, like, yeah, or guys that can't talk like Shinsuke, you know. Like, it's just like – it's really crazy. So I had this down on the list because I was actually really curious what you guys think. So Bobby Roode is NXT champion. He is probably – on it,
hey, you're cutting out a bunch, dude.
Sorry, I was saying Bobby Roode's NXT champion. I don't see anyone currently in my head, and I think I have a couple in.
Charlie, just take it, dude.
I have no idea. Just saying Bobby Roode's NXT champion.
Who could take the title off him? That's what he's going with, I think.
Shit. God.
Sorry, guys.
I have no idea.
All right. I'll go with it, man. So I think I think there are plenty of guys. In my opinion, they need to take the title off Roode sooner rather than later before he gets stale. I personally don't like him that much. I'll give the hot take. I think Roode right now is nothing but a theme song, and I'm not that crazy about his matches. I think everyone likes singing his theme, and that's kind of it. I think McIntyre, Black, Ono, Gargano, Ciampa, any of those could take the title off of him, and I'd probably enjoy that as the main title feud better. You can put any of those guys. Like we were saying, the mid-card feuds, they should be the main card feuds.
True. I'm definitely ready for the Bobby Roode to move on. Myself, so.
Garrett, are you back by chance? Nope.
Oh man, it's like so hard. Am I back fully now? Okay. So it's so hard because like I love Bobby Roode, but I kind of agree with everything you just said, Brady. He is getting to that point where he will get stale eventually because he doesn't cut the most amazing promos. And he's not on every episode of NXT, so it kind of
just looks like every other WWE superstar we've ever seen.
Right, which is sad because the guy had spent a long time over in Impact trying. Now that he's done much a lot because anyone that gets that belt put on them, obviously the company has faith behind them before they even have him on the main roster. So, you know, I think if you're gonna have anyone take it off of him right now, I think it has to be Cassius Ohno because he's got that established name, he's got the history in NXT. I don't think he ever held the belt. No, he didn't. That was one of the things he said when he came back. I never held the championship. I still have business to get to or whatever. So drop it to him. Maybe throw Ono into a feud with maybe a fully heel now Hideo Itami or something. Keep him in the title scene.
Yeah.
And then send Bobby Roode up to the main roster to like feud with.
Yeah, because Roode, I think Roode would do better on the main roster. I mean, he's champion. How much better could he do? But
that idea. Yeah, I really like.
I think he's better fit for the main roster than he is NXT at this point. I feel like NXT is so centered around in-ring work and the hardcore fans that Bobby Roode is more of a story type person, which I think WWE goes for more.
And they know that too. They're just waiting for that person to reach for that NXT title and grab it, you know?
Yeah.
So
there's not a lot of separation right now. I mean, like Charlie said, he thinks there's a big gap between Black and everyone else. But I think for most people, it's a pretty tight gap as far as who that next person is. We'll just have to wait and see what they decide. And Roode is a fine person to hold the title till then.
Completely. And he could beat lots of people legitimately too. And you're like, yeah, it's Bobby Roode. You know, that DDT just looks brutal.
Oh yeah, it's a good finisher.
Yeah.
Fact.
So this is
every time we start something.
Anyway, I was saying I have this written down. So SaNitY has been prevalent ever since they came about. But where do they fall on the card, Charlie?
As in a team?
Like where on the card, where do they stack up with all the other
everyone else? Killian Dain is one of the top male superstars, and Asuka is one of the top females, and I'd buy Eric Young and Alexander Wolf as a tag team, so I'd say they're pretty damn high.
All right. Yeah, I tend to agree because I think though they have kind of been sort of shoved to the back somewhat, they still maintain the identity of this vicious.
Yeah, that's true.
With Wolf Eric Young as a tag team, like you said. Whoa.
Brady's gone completely.
We lost Brady. Okay. Might have something to do with my connection.
I think
anyway,
he kind of agrees though.
Yeah, completely. Like I was saying, like they can be on NXT for the next year, or they could come up.
They can come up right away yeah.
And they'll be.
All right. Do we just want to wrap it up? Sorry, I accidentally clicked out. But let's wrap this episode up. Obviously, things just aren't going. The internets are not cooperating right now. But anything you want to leave the people with, Charlie?
NXT is fun. Watch it.
It's good, and it's changed a lot in the past 2 months. So hopefully in 2 months we don't have as much turnover. I think they're doing the right things. We hopefully don't need these all the time, you know. But as far as state of NXT, if we had to give it a grade, I'd give NXT an A right now based on the way they're going.
True.
All right. What grade do you give, Charlie?
Yeah, I'll go A also.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and give it an A+ because I think that plus for me comes from the direction they're headed in. It needs to be good for me to give it that grade. And I think right now there's literally they could throw any feud together and nothing would be bad. You know,
hey, that's a good thing.
Yeah, to have. They've got a lot of ways they can go.
So anyway, that has been this edition of the Raw Deal Podcast State of NXT. Tune in a couple of more months to see the next one of these. Who knows? Maybe by then we'll have Cassius Ohno as champion and Asuka will be on the main roster. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, I will see you later, guys.